Hello, neighbors.
Welcome back.
This is Daniel.
This is Katie.
And you're listening to Future Neighbor Podcast. This is the perfect time when we're supposed to put in like a little music jingle.
Yeah.
I said I would make one 2 months ago. The definition.
Where is the music,
the
Daniel?
definition of procrastination. That's it for now.
We need something more like melodical.
Melodical.
Mm.
Okay, I'll look that up in the dictionary and see what that means. Neighbors, today we're going to do a podcast around a topic that's been of interest to everybody for all of human history. It rhymes with S-E-X. What does that spell, Katie?
Sex.
Ooh, Katie. Wait, this is our second time trying to film this or to start this podcast. And in the beginning, you had a little bit of shyness around the word. Say it again with confidence, Katie.
Why?
Say it.
S-E-X.
No, what does that spell?
Sex.
Okay. Today we're talking about sex. And I just wanted you to kind of exercise your jaw muscles so that you get used to saying that word and not like...
we don't really say that word in Korea.
Yeah. And
it's almost like a taboo.
It's taboo.
Yeah.
Korea has like euphemisms around like every sexual word.
We'll say like sleep with people instead.
Or like, you know, if you talk about your guy region. Oh, I'm doing it right now. It's the guy region, or it's the woman zone, or the Y zone.
Yeah.
You never say vagina.
Yeah.
In Korea, you never say the word up front. Like I've never heard it in society.
It'll be quite glaring.
Too blunt.
Yes.
It's too blunt.
Yes.
Yeah, you always talk around it.
And then you know that famous Netflix series called Sex Education?
Ah, that's right. The recent one. I remember seeing all these billboard ads for it.
Yeah, on the bus and...
No, when we were in Portugal, there was ads all over for the release of the Netflix.
In Korea too, actually, on the buses. I saw it for a while. But the funny thing is, when my friend first told me to watch that show, she said it in Korean. And it's a completely different title.
Oh, they changed the word?
Yeah, in Korean, it's 비밀 연애 상담소, which is like a secret like consulting on relationship. That's like the basic title of that show.
They changed it to that?
Oh, so I was like, what? I can't find it. And then the English translation was sex education.
That's hilarious.
I know.
Speaking of that, you know, Tinder has entered Korean market, I think last year or sometime earlier this year.
Yeah.
And they also, when you see the commercial ads, it's not a hookup app, not like one night stand kind of thing. When you see the commercials, it's all about, hey, do you need a friend to do an activity? Do you want to meet, new connections in Hongdae or in the surrounding area? They really repositioned the whole branding of that app.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've met people who are like, yeah, I might just go on Tinder. And I'm like, oh, you're on Tinder? And they're like, why? I'm just trying to meet some friends to go hiking. And I'm like, oh, interesting. It worked because, they haven't lived abroad. So whatever gets fed down the commercial is what it is.
Yeah. It's like less sexual, more like friendship.
I wonder if Grindr comes into Korea with how they position that.
What is that?
Never mind.
Is that an app?
It's like a Tinder for gay people.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I mean, it's just, I know everything in this
That's where
sphere.
Your interest is.
당연하지, which means of course. Yeah, so when we were watching, I joined in, I don't really watch too much like Netflix. I can't watch it for long. I used to do like long, sit down sessions and watch through, but I hopped in for a little bit for 30 minutes, one of those episodes. And I just remember thinking that what a great way to teach about sex ed through a plot and touch on sensitive areas without preaching through like a drama. And I thought it was excellent. It was very like great way of speaking to the next generation. And then I thought to myself,
it's quite educational, that program.
Right? Because you're living through these crazy situations about sex or guy to girl relationships through a character.
And I feel like, especially if you're a teenager watching that show, like they touch on a lot of like the issues that might be on your mind, but you can't really like talk with your parents or your friends. I mean, even for me, I thought some of the parts were very educational, and which is why I kept going.
I know. By the time the weekend was over, you're already on season 2.
I know.
Oh, jeez, you must really like it. Yeah.
I was like really watching it.
And I'm like, what are you watching? And you're like, just some BBC documentary. But yeah, when I was watching, I thought it'd be a great topic to bring to this podcast, starting off with how we learned, if at all, about sexual education, sex ed, growing up. You did your schooling in London in the UK, and I did mine in the US. And how was it for you in the UK? Did you have any?
No, but when do you start learning about those sex ed?
I think for us, it was around junior high. Then in high school, we had a little bit, but junior high was, especially for guys, like junior high is when your hormones are really starting to kick in and you're going through puberty.
Yeah.
And like, you just walk around class with a boner all day, basically.
You see, I can't really relate to that because I went to all-girls school.
Right. There was none of that. I wonder if the pretty girls in my class, when you like get new classes, you just had all girls dressed up in sweatpants.
I think the only time that we would be so like hyped in that way would be when we had like those disco nights. That would be like maybe twice a year.
London disco nights.
Yeah, our school will host it, and then we will send official invitations to nearby schools that had guys.
So formal.
But then our biggest complaint is there's always no guys.
No one would accept the invitation.
Like the guys would be coming, but there will be too few of them, so they will be just center of the attention. So I feel like some guys would feel very uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh.
And then our teachers will be standing on the same, that auditorium, and they will be monitoring people too.
Oh my gosh. Monitoring for distance if you get too close.
Or anything dangerous happening.
Dangerous happening, like holding a hand.
And I just remember at the end, like we would have a few guys come and go, but then by the time that it was almost like late at night, all the guys would be gone, so it would be a disco night with all the girls, and we would just be doing the training.
So you lived in kind of in terms of gender interactions, you lived in a bubble since it was an all girls school.
Yeah, but we did have, of course, those education. But what
was the focus of the curriculum? Or can you explain?
I think it was more from the biology perspective.
Like medical perspective, you draw your reproductive parts and you learn what does.
Yeah.
You didn't have anything that talked actually about sex?
I don't
about
remember
practicing sex or anything like
outside my biology class.
Yeah, that's interesting because
I don't know if that's normal.
Well, I would say, I went, my school was in Orange County, California. I went through all public school in my life. We had no money to go to private school, but hey, I love public schools. So much fun. Think around junior high, we would have some health sessions. I don't know if it was, I can't remember because my memory's a little bit bad, whether it was it wasn't like a sex ed class. It would be like certain days would be dedicated to learning about this like issue. And it was the most, I just remember a few sessions very clearly in my head.
So it's not a biology class?
No, it wasn't a biology class. It was like learning about guys and girls' relationships and something. What I remember was like they would always preach abstinence. So
abstinence.
I never knew what that word meant back then. It was just too advanced for me. So I just thought it was a drug. Like, doesn't abstinence sound like a drug? So, by the way, Katie, you're looking up on your phone. Do you know what abstinence means?
Yes, I know. This is practiced in temples by monks. Abstinence, right?
You're reading from
not.
Webster. How could that be the first response? Abstinence just means abstaining from sex, means no sex. Okay, Katie? A practice practice by monks. That's how you were just Katie.
Abstinence.
I think all the viewers can clearly know that you're reading off your screen.
No,
now.
I'm not. This is the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay. Anyway, so oh my god, that's so funny. Sorry, but yeah, it wasn't ever talking about like wearing condoms. That slowly, as I came into high school, became like an option that they would kind of talk about. But back then it was just like sometimes I watch in the movies like a teacher putting a condom on a banana and showing the students how to put.
We had that in biology class.
In biology?
Yeah. I
Really?
remember my teacher came
Slipping
with,
on?
With you know, those molds that look like guys thing.
Like
mold 맞지? That's a mold, right? How do you call it?
In cool people's term, we call it a dildo.
Dildo?
Yeah.
You mean some like a similar looking shape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a sex toy, right?
Yeah. And then she would slip on a condom and she'll show it to us.
I feel like we're doing like a live sex ed class right now. Dildo. Oh, I love it. Anyway, okay. Katie, you're cracking me up so much. They actually showed you that in class, like a demo.
Yeah, and then we learned all about those sexually transmitted disease.
Like we also had sessions about learning about STDs, but I've never seen that demo in person. And I was,
really?
Yeah, when I saw it on like, popular TV shows or movies, I always go, that's strange. That's crazy. That's
crazy.
That's a cool school because we never saw that.
Oh.
What I remember in junior high, the teacher, the school nurse would come and she would give a little class about STDs and about abstinence, how that's the 100% perfect way for monks. No, I'm just kidding. For you to get any diseases, prevent getting any diseases. And then she would open it up to the class for questions.
Okay.
And she would give everyone, a piece of paper and you can write down your question. And she promised confidentiality.
Okay.
And so I could just see the grin on all these like 8th grader faces. And, because all the kids were probably already looking at porn, right? So
yeah, nobody's taking it seriously.
Oh my gosh. So the scene that's in my mind is she collected all the questions, she put it in a hat, she's like stirring it around, and then she picked one up. And then she opens it up and she's like,
Daniel?
No. I just remember her sign be like, okay, we're going to skip that one. She opens up another one. Okay, we're going to skip this one. And she did that like 5 in a row.
Really?
And so the kids were like, just show the questions. What are people asking? And she's like, you guys are just too much for me. This is ridiculous. She was reading one question. The next question, she's like, if one person who has AIDS sleeps with another person who has AIDS, does the person get super AIDS? And like, it was that like level of maturity. Right? And so she just quickly realized that our maturity level was just like, we were not there to learn. We were just there to like get giggly.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the funniest question ever. And I just remember like
that's
grabbing my belly and laughing on the floor with my friends.
That was totally your level of question.
Oh yeah, that's just right. That's the fun of life at that age. Asking about boobies, and if the boobies grow too big, can it hit your knees? Like that kind of level of like like maturity, right? So that's the extent of sex ed that I remember. Like I don't remember anything else. Everything else that I learned about sex, gender and relationships has all been through friends or through media.
Like through movies?
Yeah, from movies. And surprisingly, the part that's missing there is parents.
Yeah. How was it in your family?
Let me give you an example. Yeah, that's it. Silence.
That's it?
We never talk about it. The only thing that my mom or dad always told me was when I would be like in high school and going out to some like a party, or they knew I was just going out with friends, they would always be like, Daniel, 엉뚱한 거 하지 마, which basically means in Korea, don't do anything wonky. And I just knew what that meant. My mom would give me the stare, or my dad would give me the stare, or they would be like, 실망하지 마, which means don't disappoint me. And that was the only but even at like in the high school age, I never even thought about like, well,
asking or like openly talking about it with your parents.
Even now, I would feel uncomfortable talking about that.
Yeah.
It's not just, I think it's a very Korean thing, but
Yeah,
Korean
I
parents
agree.
don't know how to talk,
Yeah, I mean, I never talk about those
right?
things. with
You've never
my
talked about
family.
like sex or
Yeah.
gender. Well, actually, yeah, just sex with your parents,
Yeah.
right?
Not just my parents, but also with my brothers
Yeah.
and sister.
Yeah, me too. But I wonder, do other families in other cultures? I think, I mean, it seems like at least in media, more Western families have an easier time talking to their children
They're
about
more open about it.
sex. And when I was studying abroad in Tokyo, I remember we had a pretty international group of friends, and I remember one girl was telling me that like her mom would pack condoms into her purse, telling her to be safe. And
That's what I see in the Western media too, though.
yeah. And I was just really like surprised. I was just like,
Yeah, me
whoa,
too.
that's,
So liberal.
yeah. I didn't know how to feel about that though. I was like, that's great,
so
but it's so
cool.
unfamiliar to me
Yeah.
that it's just like, yeah, it's kind of strange. Now, maybe a more interesting question to ask was, if you have kids, how would you approach that subject, if at all? Have you thought about that?
I think more open than my parents.
So you would actually sit down with them and have
I
a
think that's-
conversation.
I think that's necessary, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, having a more like open conversation about it. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah. At least in the US, we have this popular saying about having a discussion about the birds and bees. Like,
What's that?
it's just basically talking about how like what sex is and how it's done. And
Yeah. But in some ways I think it's a different, but have you ever seen your parents kiss?
playfully once on the cheek.
Really?
Yeah, just like that when they were a lot younger.
Yeah,
But
but I don't think that's normal in Korean families.
Yeah,
At least our parents.
Katie, I said
generation.
once.
Yeah.
Not once a week. I said once.
Yeah, once.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I haven't even seen once.
Yeah.
So I think that
Skinship.
in similar, that's also kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
How we don't talk about sex, but also there's no like, you don't really see those physical affection on your
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah. Did you ever get a kiss on your forehead or like
No.
or get hugs?
I mean, hugs, yes. We do hugs a lot, but never like a kiss on the cheek or nothing on the face.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah, it's just, and I feel like for a lot of listeners who have one feet in one culture or who are immigrants and who have another feet in Western culture, yeah, it's a good question. Where did you learn about sex and what sex is about and what gender roles are? Like, how did you form your understanding of it? And most of it has to be media, no?
Yeah.
So when we get into relationships, what we see in the media, or like most of it is not true when it comes down to real life, right? So I think that's why
Media is much more romantic.
well, much more than that too, right? Everything is hypersexualized in the media too,
Yeah.
right? It feels like if you watch any sitcom or any like drama, at least like American drama, every other hour you should be having sex, right? Every other scene is like, oh, take your clothes off. I just got back from war. Take your clothes off.
We recently saw a film that was so like
Basic Instinct. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm actually embarrassed to say that.
Yeah, because actually we were flipping through and I was telling, because we saw the little thumbnail for it. And you know where there's that scene. Who was the actress?
Sharon Stone.
Yeah, where Sharon Stone, like, it's a very infamous scene where she uncrosses her legs and she wasn't wearing any underwear. And I was like, Katie, you know that happened? She's like, let's watch it. So we clicked on it. And it's true, right? You can quickly see like a glimpse, right?
Yeah.
Now at the age of 30-something, now watching this movie, every other scene was like so...
Sexual.
yeah, and it's just
unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's just too many unnecessary sex scenes in this. Like every other scene is just like, come here, like, ooh, And then it's like the plot barely moves forward, and the next thing is like, I know you like it like that.
Oh my gosh, Daniel.
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, that's how it was. And then I could see why that movie was popular back in the days, but with the quality of movies and the plot and but it was fun to watch.
It was fun to the eye.
Yeah, it's like I said. But what were we talking about? I kind of wanted to get to the point of like gender roles in real relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a very difficult thing, especially for guys, you know, because you also have to mix in porn, because guys learn a lot or a lot of their sexual fantasies come from porn, right? Like our parents' generation, like had a magazine, right? And so on a magazine, it doesn't get that it could, but it doesn't get that graphic, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't get video. It's just like, oh, yeah, there's some stuff that's left to the imagination, right? You'll see a pair of boobs. You might, you know, if it's really nice, you'll see the as well. And it's just, it races in your mind. But like,
you're having so much fun today.
Yeah, this is a great topic. But yeah, when you see video, it's like seeing images of people getting killed. You get numb to it.
Yeah.
So when you see like traditional sex on porn, it's just like, it doesn't do anything for you. And then like after years of seeing that, you want the next thing to stimulate you. And it gets into hardcore. And then a lot of people who really fall into porn, hardcore porn is not enough. And they get into like very like
abusive.
Yeah, abusive or even niche stuff that gets very strange. And then for some people, they want to see it live. Right, they'll pay to see like live girls, right? Yeah. So there was that incident in Korea called the Enbambang.
Yeah,
should we talk about that a little bit? Because it you know, it's a good segue into that.
Yeah.
So this was 3 months ago, and there was this. In case I don't do a good job explaining it, you can Google nth room. Yeah, Enbambang is translated to nth room, and you'll see like articles about it. But basically these young, I don't know if the ringleader was young. He was, right? And maybe in his 30s.
Yeah, some of them were in their early 20s.
Yeah. So the ringleader, the guy who was behind this operation, he was recruiting young girls in their 20s through Twitter to basically do like live sex acts in a online chatting room. And then he would pay them through like Ethereum or a cryptocurrency. And then all the participants would also pay to see live through cryptocurrency. And this was going through an encrypted app messenger called Telegram.
Yeah.
So nobody could see or backtrace where it was coming from. Chatting rooms would have these girls do like very lewd acts. And I think it became a big deal because the rooms got so big. Right? It was like 20s, 30s, 40,000 people watching like live girls doing that. This crime itself is not something that's like bewildering, like the first of its kind. This happens everywhere, right? But I think what shocked the nation was when they caught the guy who was behind it, it was like this really young kid.
Ooh, looks so naive.
So naive, but he was operating like 20s or like
this
30.
Delicious world.
Yeah, like this underground ring of girls, and it was just like, it just shows you how evil normal people can be once they go down that path, right?
Yes, just behind the computer. Yeah,
just behind the computer, and it makes it, with all this technology, it just makes doing evil things so much easier.
Yeah.
It's like killing someone with a drone in war. You just click a button and they're gone, and their screen gone. You just get a girl who you don't know. She's doing some like crazy acts. You don't know who she is. You don't know who the participants are. All you know is money's coming into your account, and you're getting paid, and you're making a lot of money.
Yeah, and the problem was some of these girls were doing it kind of by force.
Yeah. So he basically was able to track down their personal information, get photos of them, and then blackmail them to keep doing it, or else they would share those photos to the rest of their social contacts. It was like an episode on Black Mirror. Remember that Netflix show that I was telling you about, how that kid got caught masturbating, and then the hacker recorded him doing or masturbating at his house, and then said, hey, if you don't do this next crime, I'm going to share this to all the contacts in your Gmail.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, he was doing that to the girls, basically. Kind of blew my mind, just again, because he was so young and he was operating at such a crazy level. Because Koreans, we grew up with tech, so we know how to operate tech work through our mobile, and this guy just knew about, Ethereum, Bitcoin.
Yeah, he was
setting
so
up payment
tech-savvy.
payment gateway, making sure all the messages were going through Telegram.
They were so convinced that they would not be caught.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if everybody's caught, even by now.
Yeah, because I think the servers of Telegram are hosted in Russia, so Korean government is not able to tell them to give them the data or the information. So even after that crime, there were people still in that chat room because they knew that the Korean government could do anything.
A lot of people remaining.
Yeah.
And then there was actually a Netflix film, not a film, a series on this called, not on this, but this one's called Extracurricular. 인간 수업.
Extracurricular activity.
No, it's just called Extracurricular.
Oh, I see.
And then we watched the first episode and it was very reminding of that nth case incident.
The nth room
It was
incident.
very uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. That's why I said I this is not my type of TV show. Yeah, it was a similar plot where just
it's
getting young
interesting,
girls.
but it was weird.
Yeah. For me, I watch movies, dramas to be entertained. Topics around like that. It's just, no matter how good the plot is, it's just not that entertaining to me. Yeah. But I remember when I was thinking about this podcast and I knew we were going to talk about sex ed, I also wanted to kind of shine some light on the room salon culture in Korea.
Yeah, I think you
Right?
should.
That must be very interesting for a lot of Korean Americans know it, but for the general public.
Oh, especially if you're non-Korean.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is room salon? So room salon is like a euphemism for a brothel.
But prostitution is illegal in Korea.
Yeah, prostitution is illegal, but it's everywhere.
Underground.
Underground, yeah. So actually, maybe before I jump right into it, if you come to Korea, I'll explain a little bit so it gives more context. So in Korea, if you want to go sing a song, you can go to karaoke.
노래방.
In Korean, it's called 노래방. And there you just go with your friends, you can get drinks, and it's a fun time. And you'll see that in downtown LA and everywhere. Even Japan, karaoke is very popular, right? 노래방. Now, a lot of businessmen, what they like to do is they want to sing, but they want attractive women entertaining them. Not sexually, but they're attractive and they want them to pour drinks and entertain conversation.
Yeah.
And that next level is called in Korean, okay, this might get confusing, it's called karaoke. It's just the Korean pronunciation of karaoke. So when Korean people are like, hey, do you want to go to karaoke? That implies, hey, do you want to go to a karaoke, but with call girls, right? And I've been to karaoke before, with companies and things like that.
And those places are adults only too.
Actually, sometimes actually when I was working in banking, the girls would come too. Yeah.
No, I mean adult only. You need to be above 18.
Yeah.
ID.
Yeah. You don't go in if you're younger. So how karaoke works, I want to break it down. You normally pay the cost of singing, whatever, but then they'll line up girls. So like 6 girls will come in and then you can pick one. Or normally they'll give you 2 turns. They'll say, oh, if you don't like this one, and then they charge $100 per hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. Again, so karaoke, there's no sexual activity allowed, or they don't.
There's like a little bit of touching.
Yeah. There is that. So a lot of businessmen, entertain their guests and they go to karaoke and they have a good time. Once 1 hour is finished, they go out and then it's done, right? Now, there's a third level to that, which is what I referred to in the beginning called room salon, right? And
room salon.
Room salon, yeah. And that's basically similar thing. You usually go for karaoke, but then they have something called the icha, which is basically second round with the girls. After that's finished, you go with the girls to a motel. And we're not talking like broke down motels. These are like nice motels that are in the same building, and then you basically do your thing and then both split ways.
Yeah.
Now, why I bring that up is this room salon, going to this room salon culture or this thing is so prevalent in corporate Korea.
Yeah.
It's so prevalent. Like When I first came from the States to Korea, I felt so much pressure to like go to a room salon, go to a brothel. But you know how it's like the name has changed, right? It's called room salon, right? So it kind of tricks your mind, right? Because when you're in the US and you think about prostitutes, in my mind, you think like it's very dirty, it's very taboo. Like the girls look very like really disheveled, really like I don't know, just like
Under drug?
Yeah, on drugs, and like it's just something that you never even think of if you're like on the right path, right? But in Korea, these room salons, these girls are like, they're very pretty. They're very like, they're in their 20s, and they do not look like that stereotype of a dirty or like of a disheveled looking like grungy prostitute. They just look like some very pretty girls that you would see walking down Gangnam. They have the latest like Birkin bags, whatever, and they just look really pretty. So it really screws up with the guy's mind. But for me, Katie's looking at me with like worried eyes. You know, if you're a guy and you have any kind of self-dignity, like, why would you want to pay for sex? You should be able to get into a relationship, or you should be able to get that by yourself. So I came with that sort of mentality coming in from the US, that's only for like real losers, right? That who are paying for that.
Paying for sex.
Yeah, that's like that's not that's not 멋있어, right? So when I was working in the banking and these older people would be like, Daniel, you're the new guy, come on, we're gonna treat you out and take you to a room salon, I'd be like, actually I'm good. And
what if you said you have a girlfriend? Would they still ask you?
It depends on the person above you and what kind of personality you are. I always had like a very upfront personality. I wasn't that like into like peer pressure. So they're just, he's not into it. So I never got any more requests, right? But I remember when I was looking in on my phone, Wikipedia was showing that in 2003, which is probably during the heyday, now this room salon culture, thankfully, is like kind of dissipating because there's so much light shed on it. So like more younger kids who go into these big corporates, like they have a bigger voice and they know how to say no or that they're not interested.
Yeah, but I don't know, because you showed me the back street of Salon and it was crazy. I've never seen anything like that before. Right
before I go into that, let me drop the stat. Did I already say it?
No, you say the stat.
In 2003, the number of Korean males who have been to a room salon was 23%, which is nearly 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Right? So this is not something like that I'm just bringing up. People are doing on the side, a little small group. No, this is a very prevalent thing. This is like a coming of age for Korean guys who live in Korea who have broken into the corporate world.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want to, for Korean guys, you learn how to smoke in the Korean army. And then that's one way you bond at the company is, when you have smoke breaks with your uppers, right? But then the second thing is, if you're really young, a freshman into the company, a rookie, and you really want to look good and you don't want to disappoint your boss, when he comes, after like 회식, which is company drinking sessions, and he goes, hey, come on, we're going to go to Icha, which is basically let's go to room salon. And you tell him no. Korean like culture,
peer pressure,
and the ability to say no to your uppers, it's not there, right? For me, I came with the American mentality. I was just like, nah, like I looked at him and was like, dude, these guys are worthless, right? So it didn't even like shake me. But if I grew up in Korea, and you grow up on porn, and as soon as you finish college and you weren't able to get a girlfriend in college, you weren't able to maintain a relationship, but you get a good job, and now is your like first opportunity to have sex.
Maybe it will be just like a natural course of action.
That's what I mean. It's like a coming of age moment,
right?
And these girls are like 10 out of 10s, right? They look beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But they're, but that's what they do for a living, right? So I'm trying to give you the mentality of this young up and coming guy, right? In Korea. Then do you think he would say no? He would be excited, right?
Yeah.
Especially if 1 in 4 of all of his friends, so if there's a group of 10, then 3 of them are always talking about, man, there was that girl, we did it,
Yeah.
Don't you think it would make him feel cool at the age of young 20? But here's the problem with that. That becomes normalized.
And it's not just young 20 guys.
Exactly. That
Even
culture.
The old people do it.
Exactly.
Who are married.
Yeah, you get married, but you become addicted to room salon, right? And I've heard so many stories of people who I know. My friends of friends would tell me, like, his boss. Yeah, he's so addicted. Every lunch hour he'll go.
So crazy.
Because he gets paid a lot, so he just goes every lunch hour to room salon, gets it done, and then comes this picture of Salon, right?
Yeah.
Salon is near Gangnam. It's one station next to Gangnam.
It's
Salon,
a business district.
Business district. A lot of the biggest IT companies, and my the
We
firm
used to
used to be
work
there.
there,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I would always walk the streets, and then at right around like 7 or 8, I would always see girls like they would. Okay, Katie.
Come out of vans.
Yeah, they come out of black vans. I mean, and they just look like,
Really beautiful.
yeah, they look stunning, like something out of a magazine, right?
Mm.
And they're like, boobies are like just like in your face, and they're just like that. And I was like, where are these girls going, right? And because I was new to Korea, right, so I didn't know. And then I realized one of my like the clients that I work for, he was like, don't you know Salon in the back alley, all room salons? And I was like, what's a room salon? And he started breaking it down, the cost and stuff, and my mind was kind of blown. And then once you see it, you never unsee it. That's why when I was with you, I was like, Katie, look at that girl, right? The girl in the van, right?
Yeah.
She's like, I was like, that girl's prostitute, right? And then now you start seeing it, right? All the girls that come in right around 8 up the stairs.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of thought to myself, like, it was very perplexing because when you see someone that's like really struggling and it looks like they're struggling, you can empathize. But in Korea, they like, it just seems like, I mean, I don't know. I have never had a relationship. I don't have anyone who's been in that industry, in the sex industry, but I'm sure they need the money for one reason or the other, right?
That must be for the money.
Of course, right? But how much of it is economic, like extreme need versus this is the easiest way to accrue a lot of money? Do you know what I mean? But then you see a lot of these girls, they have like the best bags and stuff like that. They're living better than white-collared workers in the businesses, right? Then you start to lack kind of empathy, right? It's a fast way to make money and they're doing it. And then, I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings for it.
Yeah. But you also, something that you notice on the back alley are these guys with like these microphones on their ears.
Yeah.
You should explain those role of those guys. Picky picky.
Oh, we call them picky pickies. Yeah. I mean, you're a girl, so they don't approach you. But if you're two guys and anywhere in Asia, even in Japan, they'll come and they'll, hey, do you want, But they're usually trying to get you.
They look so professional. They were all with like suits and they had this
earpiece.
Earpiece on them.
Yeah. They're usually not for room salons. They're usually to get you into karaoke. Sorry, not karaoke. Karaoke. The cost for that, because I've gone to karaoke, again, not room salon, right? Karaoke is, you have to buy a whiskey set, a hard alcohol set that usually comes around $400,000.
Yeah.
$400.
Wow.
And it's just like a small set. And then again, you have to pay for a girl. So if you're there with two guys, that's another $200. So that's $600 already.
Yeah.
And then any food you order is like $50. So you're already at $650. So it's not a cheap thing at all. Yeah. I don't know. Is that interesting? Breaking it down like that?
Yeah, and something that really shocked me of the things that you told me were how these places actually, they register the name as something completely non-sexual, like Cafe 456 or something.
Yeah,
or like sounds like a macaron place or something.
Yeah, in the back alleyways, like, you'll see a lot of motels, and then you'll see like random Cafe Baguette or something like that.
Yeah, so they don't get like caught by their wives.
Exactly, because you can't use corporate cards there. So, when the team boss will swipe his card, when his wife checks his credit card balances, it comes as if you spent like a lot of money on coffee. I guess, yeah. That's a good way to get caught, yeah. Spend $650 on coffee one night. So that place better change its name to something else.
Yeah, but this it was a whole new underground world for me.
I don't know. I think at this age, I'm able to see it more objectively. It's just, it exists. And I thought it was interesting to bring this up because it's a part of being a Korean male, whether you directly participate in it or are pressured to be in it. You're going to see it if you go into corporate.
Yeah.
And it's funny because none of this is really shared on this squeaky clean K-pop image that you see on TV. But don't get me wrong, guys. I know I'm talking about it as if everyone is doing it. If 2003 was 23%, my guess would be it's probably like maybe 16%. There's a lot of people who are not down with that. As the millennial generation comes into the workforce, I think a lot of them have the ability to speak their mind to their uppers. Whereas a long time ago, during our parents' generation, you're lucky to have a job and you do exactly how it's told. Like that military kind of, that pressure is very hard to like go against the grain. So in my guess, I would probably say it's around 15%. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's really interesting to hear. And from a girl's perspective, I have never like experienced or heard about these things until you told me. So it was. My
cousin knows, and one of my cousins, like the thing that she hated the most was like, well, she's a lot younger, but she's Korean. She was raised in Korea. She was like, like, but one thing that I hate about Korean society is that there's that room salon and just really taints our men, and I just hate it, like, because
she really said
it bothered her so much, and I could understand why. And I was just telling her like, hey, there are a lot of guys who don't go to that too. It's not like you're forced to do it. It's everyone has their choices, right? Not everyone in Amsterdam is smoking weed just because it's legal.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Maybe this is too much reality for our listeners.
No, I think the non-Korean listeners will find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Because this is like different corners of like living in Korea that you don't really see in media.
Yeah.
But you definitely know that exists.
But what is such a stark contrast, right? You see like Korean dramas and you rarely see, you'll never see any scenes like Basic Instinct. Well, actually now it's changing. You get a lot of artsy films, like the Handmaiden and stuff like that. You get a lot of sexual scenes that go to like, the big screens. But, or if you look at K-pop, it's very squeaky clean. And like, there's like these scandals like, oh my gosh, like this person slept with this person. Oh, he needs to get kicked out of a boy band group. But little do they know, like in their private lives, I mean, this is just,
Yeah. And what I want to see more is, I really enjoyed that sex ed show. But there's also another British show around like teenagers, like their life.
Yeah.
I think called Skins.
Yeah.
And I think both of those were very, very popular in Korea. Like a lot of Korean girls and boys watched it.
Yeah.
But I wish we had something similar, like produced in Korea too. But still talking about sex or like those sexually transmitted disease, or either in a joking or serious way that's still a taboo.
Or the use of condoms so that you can plan your
that's never like discussed or kind of considered as a topic for a drama. Yeah, because I've seen the good side of that show. I wish we had more of those kind of shows in Korea too.
I think it would be a hit. I think there would be some controversy from the older, who always like to talk trash on anything that's liberal. But I think that's needed.
Yeah, something that really, really like struck me and was like my first day at uni was like in the welcome pack they put like condoms in that.
Really?
Oh, we had our welcome pack, like a pack bag. They had put like condoms.
You mean like during Freshman or the Frosh show, like
the first week, and then they were like throwing out condoms on the corridors and stuff, which I thought was like so culture shocking. And like I remember telling my mom, and
what did your mom say?
My mom was super shocked too.
Yeah, I bet.
I think in Korea, even buying condoms on like those convenience store feels quite uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Is it in US too?
I mean, again, media doesn't display regular life in the States. I mean, anyone, if you go into a Rite Aid and you're trying to buy a big pack of condoms, I'm sure you want to do it quickly, and you'll probably grab a Coke and a bag of chips along the way to kind of show that you are impulsively buying condoms. So I think there's a little bit of, I mean, it's natural, right? I mean, it's a very like private thing. So, but it's good. I think conversations like this could like make it more interesting or make it less taboo. Because we need a lot of discussions about it, but in a engaging way, not in a preachy way.
Yeah, that's important. Nobody likes to be preached.
Yeah. It's also interesting because Korean girls or Korean guys, they usually don't move away from the house until marriage. So that also...
For various reasons. First, it's very expensive, so it doesn't really
economically,
make sense.
Yeah. And also culturally, like Korean is a multi-generational household. We usually, back in the old days, you lived, you know, with your grandparents, your parents. And then as Korea got richer, that kind of mentality is still there. Plus, again, like you say, paying for rent in Seoul is no joke.
Yeah, and also people just don't see the need for moving out.
Yeah, because Seoul is so small, and if you go to college in Seoul, you know, you can get anywhere in Seoul within an hour. There's no large commute, right? But again, that also plays into gender roles, because when you have only the weekends and you have like a new boyfriend, girlfriend, all these apartments are standard size, very small. People are going to motels, having fun here and there, and that just leads to a lot of accidents. And like talking about this is very taboo among your friends. Who do you go to talk to, right?
Yeah,
it becomes very stifling. And yeah, you get a lot of unplanned pregnancies, which leads to a lot of shotgun weddings in Korea. So many, right? All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate us 5 stars on Apple,
yes,
iTunes.
Please. We're waiting for your reviews.
But only if you like it. We don't want any fakeness, all right? Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back. And if you want to email us, get to us at futureneighbor@gmail.com. That's right. Nice save there, Katie. All right, see you guys. Have a good week.
Thank you for listening.
We love you. Best regards from Korea.